Hello and welcome to the show. Now, climbing Kilimanjaro, not something that I would be doing soon, but there's some brave people in studio today, and they're going to be doing that, but with cause. Fakhri is here, and he's going to tell me all about the journey, and we're going to chat to some of the people that's climbing to find out what the inspiration is behind that climb. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Faizal.
So it's not something that I would be doing, as I said, but you guys are brave to do that, and a lot of people has done it, and I know that there are challenges involved with all of that, but there must be a focus behind why you're doing what you do.
I think as a team of 10, and I think everybody has got their own journey going up with and without our team, but I think the biggest focus for us currently would be raising funds for children in sub-Saharan Africa, most of which is found within the region that the beautiful mountain is also found. And Kilimanjaro as a mountain is also the highest peak in Africa, so surely that would also lead some sort of challenge, a personal challenge to those who want to challenge themselves physically as well at the same time.
Is there a metaphorical story behind all of this in terms of climbing a mountain? I mean, normally indicates some challenges. And is there metaphor in that in terms of the mission behind the story itself?
I would say probably just reaching one's apex and really pushing the boundary. I mean, if you think about it in terms of physical challenge, a lot of people are very active today, a lot of people are involved in a lot of sports, but have they really pushed themselves beyond their boundaries and comforts and their own routine, their own gym, their own physical routine that they've got going daily? And I think this would just maybe push it up a notch, because the next one would be Everest.
So a group of people comes together to do this. How were they selected?
That we need to thank the Almighty, actually. I think it was not necessarily a selection process, but it started with a conversation with my mother and I. My mother will be retiring next year, but she'll tell you about that later. And it was literally like a 5-minute conversation, and we said, okay, cool, let's do this, it's a good idea. She did ask me a while ago, and I was like, it's fine, we can do it another stage. And then she just looked at me, she literally said, I'm not getting younger. And that was, for me, was, okay, she isn't, let's get her up. I then eventually said, okay, and I did some research, found the right vehicles that we could use, one of which being the Muslim Hands program, which my mother was actually most in favor of. She actually recommended it. And just mentioning it to people who I regularly hike with and CrossFit with, and we run together, immediately they were like, okay, we'd also like to do it. And I was like, okay. I really didn't expect their response to be so overwhelmingly supportive and so gut-throating, like, I really want to do this. I mean, most of them asked me quiet, and I thought I'm just going to let it lie, and if they ask me again, I'll consider it. But I mean, it was a conversation immediately after leaving the gym, like an hour later, I really want to go. 2 minutes later, I remember when I spoke to Latif, I literally went to her and she looked at me and her face changed, and I looked at her and I was like, okay. She said, when are you going? And I said, I think it's August. She says, okay, let's chat. And interesting story, last year, while we were doing a trail run on a Sunday morning, which we do regularly, I fell and I broke my leg, and Imran had to carry me down the mountain, or we would have still been probably sitting on the mountain waiting for help. And he carried me down, and he came back and was like, just don't fall. That's the first thing he said to me. So am I carrying?
Okay, so after your fall,
yeah,
you planned you're going to be doing this.
Yes.
Okay, so the fall had no impact on what you were planning to do.
No, I think the fall possibly could have. I actually totally forgot about that. I think the fall could have possibly inspired it, because, yes, I've got a scar maybe that I never had before, in a large plate in my leg, but it's still going. We love being in the mountains. Me personally, I'm very comfortable. We go almost every Sunday morning at least. So we're always in that surrounding, and there's just something very beautiful and spiritual about being up there, and I can't imagine what it would be like climbing up Kilimanjaro as well. So, I mean, almost every mountain or trail area in Cape Town we've covered. And Lions Head obviously being more popular, coming down from that, being carried down, like literally on the back of Imran. I'm almost 80 kilos. He had to carry me down. It was quite a challenge, but I think he'll be able to handle it down Kilimanjaro as well.
So, if you're looking at Kilimanjaro itself, now when people talk about these epic mountains that they're going to climb, there's a lot of preparation that goes in. People talk about oxygen starvation. They talk about having the right physique before going. They talk about having the proper nutrition before going, all kinds of things. What's the planning like for you?
I think preparation for everything, and I think for me personally as well, I think if you prepare well for anything, it will always go well. Plan for success, basically. But I think more than anything else, it's a mindset.
Are you saying that the ordinary person walking on the road right now is able to just decide they're going to Kilimanjaro tomorrow?
Well, that's a very broad statement. I don't know the ordinary person, but if we think about
somebody that's not into fitness, let's put it that way.
I think so. I think anybody, basically, your mind is your strongest vehicle, and that would really get you there. And I think you don't need to be super fit to do it. I mean, you don't need. I think the reason people do Everest, you require a lot more training because of the conditions, which are much more harsh. Kilimanjaro offers you much friendlier conditions, if you can call it that. Kilimanjaro is also, there's much more options in terms of the routes that you take, the climbs that you take. And I think the largest impact, I think of the people that attempt to climb, 80% of them make it. The other 20% basically battle with with altitude sickness. So that is maybe the lack of oxygen. And I think if we take it easy, we've been recommended to take it really slow. I think it takes about 6 to 8 days, depending on which route you take.
6 to 8 days?
Yes, in the mountain.
Right,
so you can do it in a shorter time.
I wish I had a camera up there following you to watch you going up there. It would be very interesting visuals.
Yeah.
But I'm 100% sure that you're going to be feeding us with information from there, telling us where you're at and that sort of thing. And that's the public component aspect that I want to talk about. How does the public get involved, follow the journey and become part of the journey?
I think we're in a brilliant age where social media has become a channel for everybody as well.
And there's a reception up there.
There isn't necessarily reception everywhere we go, but we will be documenting the journey and we will be posting as we come back. And I think there are points, but I think during the 6 days it becomes access to most is quite limited. And I think satellite would probably use for emergency if anything else. But I think we'll most likely only post once we get down. But we'll be posting quite a lot, I'm sure.
So you bring up the component of the social responsibility in terms of the funds for the kids. Now that's something that is generally a problem throughout society, anywhere around the world, that there are always people trying to put money together for kids, whether they be for cancer or any other fund that they're working on. How does the public get involved with that component?
The organization that we're going with is quite organized, and they do a lot of development, and there's more around the overall nutrition and well-being of children and education of the children in these countries. And I think the first question we were initially asked is, why children in sub-Saharan Africa? And yet in South Africa, maybe the situation is maybe not that great, but it's not as dire as it is in sub-Saharan Africa. I mean, there's literally still schools under a tree with a chalkboard that's made of board that's been there for a good couple of years. So we want to empower and help that as well. And there will be a challenge later on to people to help South African education structures as well. But for us, I think it's going to be contacting us via our Facebook and our Instagram account. We've got all the details that people need. There's a lot that you can do, not just monetary, but also in support of our cause that would help the overall cause and our project benefit as well.